Welcome to the Essential Alchemy podcast with your host, Jodi Cohen.
Hi, I'm Jodi Cohen, your host, and I'm so excited to be joined by Dr. Henry Ealy. He is the founder and executive community director for the Energetic Health Institute and an expert on EMFs and grounding and all the things that help. So welcome, Henry. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jodi. Really appreciate being here.
So I was telling your colleague, I have a house in Boise, Idaho, and I went away for a weekend and came back and there was a 5G cell tower 20 feet from my house. And I was like, oh, who knew you didn't have to get warning on this? And gosh, what do I do? So there's great research on other, like how to shield your phone, your computer, but not necessarily the device and kill zone. So I'm so curious kind of how you look at this and what you found to help.
It's a great question. It's an important question for us, especially when we start to understand heavy metal deposition in the body and the potential of quantum dots that people get exposed to. Quantum dots are little small nano-sized heavy metals that we get exposed through air, water now. I mean, if you're looking up at the sky in chemtrails, that's what you're seeing, barium, little nanoparticles reflecting off the sun. We also are going to get them in high concentration in contrasting agents. So people who've gone in and got imaging done and they said, here, just drink this, it'll be out of your system, or they injected and this will be out of your system in no time. That ain't true at all. It embeds in the cell structure. So you start looking at the multitude of ways that people have heavy metals getting into their body. And when you combine that with electromagnetic frequencies, alternating current electromagnetic frequencies, what happens is you get an activation of that nanoparticle, and then that nanoparticle starts to steal electrons from your body. And these electrons that we rely on are so important for energy production, and then the myriad of functions that go and follow that. So understanding the EMF topic is crucial for all of us moving forward. And without a doubt, these are bioweapons. You said you leave, you come home, and there's a tower magically, 20 feet from your house. Okay, well, the thing about these towers is that, number one, they went up when they put us all in lockdown, right? That was what lockdown was all about, in my professional opinion, was to get these things installed. What's done is done kind of mentality, and all that. So you have to think about the amount of planning that went into that Department of Defense level rollout. And you're talking decades and decades of development, research, building, training people to be able to do this globally all at the same time. I mean, this is not a small thing. This is actually the first major thing we've ever seen happen throughout the entire world at the same time and within a few weeks span. You might remember that there were some tests that went up that they said were like either FEMA tests or something like that. Last October, they were testing the network system for holes. And the reason they're testing the networks for holes is because they're using a high frequency, short wavelength emission from the towers. So they don't travel very far. But now we have to understand, why don't they travel very far? They don't travel very far because the current being emitted is called alternating current. So let's get into a little education right here, because this is what starts going, oh, wait, there's so much I can do about this. Absolutely. There's so much you can do about this. So there's two types of current. Current is the movement of electrons or electricity. We have direct current, which Mother Earth runs on, the universe runs on, our bodies run on. It's what God intended, direct current. Easily provable. You can grab a multimeter and test yourself and see that you run on direct current and not on alternating current. But the weaponized version, and what we've relied on for since the dawn of electricity in our homes and things like that, has been predominantly alternating current. And alternating current has a very interesting property in that it's on a start-stop cycle. And the best way I can describe this for everybody is, imagine getting in a vehicle and we start driving down the road, and 60 seconds in, I slam on the brakes. And then for 60 seconds, I slam on the gas. And then at 60 seconds, I slam on the brakes again. What you're going to get is this nightmare of, I don't want to drive with this person, right? So when your body is being hit with alternating current, What's happening is it's putting your cells in start-stop mode, and that leads to a whole myriad of cell problems. It shuts down cell processes for split seconds, and then they have to restart. So there's going to be a lot of errors, okay? So this is the damage that electromagnetic frequencies create, alternating current electromagnetic frequencies create. So with these towers, what's emitting? What's emitting is a very low level for all intents and purposes. They can turn it up, but what's emitting is a very low level alternating current. Again, our bodies don't work on alternating current. Our bodies work on direct current. Okay. So it's fighting against us at all time, putting us in start-stop mode. Okay. Now, when alternating current goes out, it is surrounded by it creates a magnetic field around it. Thus the term electromagnetic. And then the frequency is how is the wave oscillating, essentially. Okay. Now, the intensity of these in terms of currents are measured in what are called amperes. Don't worry about that. Not a big deal. But what we want to get across is that what people are being hit with are in the nano and pico range of amperes, very, very low, but very, very constant. Okay, so then people are like, I don't feel good, but I can't put my finger on it. Oh, it must be your mother and father to blame for their genetics. No, it's the electromagnetic fields you're in. People, if you think about this, our modern life lends itself to only being connected to Mother Earth in short bursts, if at all. I mean, we've watched children, and you can see studies out there on children who go 24 hours a day without ever being grounded, without ever being earthed or, connected to Mother Earth. And there's a huge problem in that. So when we're wearing our shoes and thick, nice, so recycled plastic soles and all this other stuff they want you to feel good about, all that's doing is creating a huge disconnect between you and Mother Earth. When you are sleeping on a foam mattress, elevated, you are disconnected from Mother Earth. When you are in your vehicle, you are disconnected from Mother Earth. So what you have is a situation where people are not taking their shoes off and walking on the grass or on the sand very much, except for people who live in beach communities or folks that are that love doing that. But the vast majority of people in cities, 24 hours, no grounding. Okay. Now here's how it all ties together. They have to have all these towers up everywhere and so close to each other because, again, the towers are sending out an alternating current at very low levels. It's in the pico and nano ampere range, very, very low levels. That gives them the plausible deniability of, oh, this couldn't possibly be hurting you. But because those EMFs are those alternating currents are being sent out, we also call them radio frequencies, by the way. They're the same thing. What happens is now they have to go from point A to point B, but what's pulling on them all the time is Mother Earth. Mother Earth is attempting to ground them. Okay. So that's why you have to have these towers and so many of them in such a short area, because they're constantly being pulled into Mother Earth to be grounded. So that gives us the solution right there. And this is where it gets exciting. What happens at this point is now you go, well, wait a minute. What happens to me if I stay grounded, if I earth throughout the day? And the only difference between earthing and grounding is that earthing, you're in direct contact, take your shoes off, walk on the grass, right? Grounding, you're using a product, an intermediary. Like I'm touching a grounding mat right now while I'm talking to you. I keep a grounding mat under my computer at all times. So there's some things we've learned this year. And one of those big things we've learned is the incredible importance of earthing and grounding. We've done tests on blood of people who've been vaccinated. I don't want to even say the word, people who've gotten the damn shot and people who didn't. And what we see consistently is before the 5G towers, it was estimated that you only needed 20 to 30 minutes of earthing or grounding a day to reestablish healthy blood. And that's where you see, have you seen the red blood cells, the live blood cell analysis where the red blood cells are all apart and they're moving and it's all fluid?
Yes.
That phenomenon that creates that is called a Zeta potential. So basically, all the red blood cells have negative charges around them, and negative repels negative. So they all move around and it's beautiful, and they can grab the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. But when you introduce heavy metals to this equation, when you introduce EMFs to this equation, one or both, what happens is now the Zeta potential that has the red blood cell all negative on the perimeter, now some of it becomes positive. And now what happens is red blood cells start to attract each other and stick. And that's where you see that stacking pattern.
So this is why EMFs are messing up the lymph, because they're messing up the blood and the lymph work together. Okay,
work together. Yeah. And the lymph is just going to be the expression of white blood cells predominantly, as opposed to red blood cells. So it's still messing up this potential. See, our bodies are designed to create their own space relative to each other. We're talking about cells. How come cells don't just get clumped together? Because they have a negative charge on the perimeter, and that's what keeps them somewhat repelled from each other. That's the divine order. You start introducing positive charge to that, and it throws everything off. And that's what EMFs and the nanoparticles that resonate with EMFs do. So what we get here is we get a situation where a person who is exposed to the chemtrails, drinking tap water where there's tons of quantum dots, going to the doctor to get an imaging done and being given contrasting agents, which is a absolute no-no. And I've been giving guidance on this now. Do not ever take another contrast in your life. If you thought you might have cancer and they did a contrast to confirm it, I guarantee you will have cancer after a contrast and a radio and an MRI or something that's going to do it.
What Go Lately is the thing that you're supposed to drink for the colon cancer screening?
The barium swallow. Yeah.
I haven't done it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get the imaging. They will tell you that it's not going to be as accurate. It doesn't matter if you need imaging, get imaging. Just do not use a contrasting agent. It's just quantum dots that are going to embed in your cell structure. That's all that's going to happen. And it's going to create huge problems for you long term. So we have a situation where you have this tower 20 feet from your house now. Why did they put it up there? Because they found a hole in their communication network where that's why you see so many popping up all over the places, because there's holes all over this network, right? It was just a trial. They started in 2020. Now they're trying to fill in the gaps. The problem is with that proximity to your home, you are being hit with high frequency, high intensity electromagnetic frequencies because of your distance. You're closer to it. And this is one of the key principles. The further you get away from the source of emission, the less they are. They fall off an exponential cliff. But you're so close, you would be in what I would term a kill zone. You are in that zone now. So now how do you handle this, right? Because ideally, it's go and grab yourself a wrecking ball and tear it down yourself. Ideally, I mean, that's honestly where I'm at with all this stuff, right? I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not advocating for property destruction. What I'm advocating for is self-defense. All right. Yeah. Somebody parks a nuke on your property, you'd have a right to remove that nuke. Okay. That's just basic sense.
Interestingly, the laws are,
of course, because who writes the laws, and they're all look, we can get into the whole Luciferian agenda and everything, but the idea is, how do you manage this process while you're fighting the good fight to extol your rights? Okay. And do this, hopefully, yes, in a court of law, which good luck there. What you do is you understand that your safest thing to be is grounded in the presence of these fields. And we've done measurements, and we show people how to do these measurements on their own body, showing that you can completely eradicate your body's perception of these EMFs if you have enough distance from the source emission. So in this case, how do you do this? Well, we've learned that back before the towers came up, all you needed was 20 or 30 minutes of grounding in a day. Well, our research and our testing, because that's what we do, we test all this stuff, Our testing shows conclusively that you need now at least 3 hours consecutively.
And I'm super curious because you mentioned, did it matter is there a difference for people that chose one thing over the other, or is it the same?
They're all bioweapons. I mean, there's going to be some differences if we're talking about the adenoviral vector platform, the Johnson & Johnson or the AstraZeneca. That's the worst of all the platforms. But the mRNA platform is horrific in so many ways, and the laundry list of problems that it creates, from the microbiome all the way through to double-stranded DNA break cell integration, is off the charts. And there's no way to look at them objectively and claim that they are therapeutic. There's just no way to do that. All right. When you understand what the tech is.
EMF impact, will it impact people that chose the vaccine the same as people?
Oh, yeah. The people who have been the people who are dealing with the effects of shot because they actually got a live batch instead of a saline batch. And let's not kid ourselves. There was a lot of saline batches out there, right? You can't inject in 2021 everybody in the world with a live batch. It's going to be obvious you're killing people. You have to be able to create some live batches, what they call hot lots, and you have to have some other lots that are basically saline. And I've pulled up some lots with some of the people that were on President Trump's administration, and we've looked at those things together. And it was like, do you see how your lot, there are 0 reported injuries, but this other lot over here has like 50 reported injuries? Like, how did that happen? One is live, one isn't. One is saline, one is actual bioweapon. It's not rocket science. So at any rate, what you start looking at with all of this is, what can I do? Right? Yeah. What can I do? This sucks. This conversation sucks. I never feel good giving this talk. But until we get to what can you do?
Yes.
And so this is where you go, okay, well, if Mother Earth is constantly grabbing these EMFs to ground them out, it's just electrons, and then she recycles them and the electrons become direct current for you. It's no big deal for her. Then it would stand to reason that we are going to be immensely safe being connected to Mother Earth. And so what we put out in May was we put out an EMF guide, free EMF guide. You can get it at
we'll drop the link below.
Say it again.
We'll drop the link below so everyone has access.
So you can go over, but if you go over to energetichealthinstitute.org, you'll see the free gifts and everything. You'll see it under that drop down menu. But it's a free EMF guide. We show you how to set up your bedroom and your workstation so that you can be grounded now. And now, Jodi, I would estimate I spend typically 18 plus hours a day grounded now.
So what I think you're saying is, it doesn't matter what's being thrown at you as long as you're able to eliminate it. And when you're grounding, you can eliminate anything.
That's what it is right there. That's what it is in a nutshell. So like, we have a grounding sleep system. We've put together some products that were already on the market. We've show that they can synergize and be at the highest efficiency. So we can set up the bed.
And the prices are reasonable. I
think they are. They're far more reasonable than the shielding crap that's out there that doesn't work.
Yeah, I've wondered about that also. We can talk about that next, but it looks like what you're basically recommending is the grounding pad and the sheet, and it doesn't, some people, it's like they go a little hog wild. So I really appreciate that you're kind of minimalist.
Yeah, well, it's got to be affordable. It's got to be effective. First of all, it's got to be effective. Our first thing we look for in our research is, does it work?
Yes.
Right. Yes. And can I prove that it works?
Right.
We started this journey because we had people telling us about all these incredible shielding products that were out there.
Yeah.
And on its philosophy, just philosophically, my background, for people that don't know, I'm a mechanical engineer. I've graduated from UCLA. I've done database development on the International Space Station. I'm a healthy skeptic, and I'm a prove it dude. If you can prove it, okay, it's proof. It's proven. There's nothing to talk about. Yeah. So we started really investigating. I started really investigating the shielding industry hardcore, starting with all the big names. Right? Their products got to work. Everybody's talking about them, that they're great.
Well, and to be honest, I did shield for 4G, and I part of me second guesses because I did the whole paint the room, coat the windows.
Right.
Like, did I just make myself a rat in a cage? Like, I don't know if that, in hindsight, I would not do that again.
Right. Well, if you take that approach, you are potentially, if the product is really working, trapping EMFs, alternating currents, in a pinball chamber that you exist within. That's a terrible idea. Right. So yeah, we don't advocate for people painting their walls as a block or something. You're going to be hard pressed to make your own Faraday cage, which is what people are attempting to do. You're going to be
Well, the
really
other thing
hard
that I
pressed to do that.
wonder is, you know, this was when 4G was a thing, and now it's 5G, and my sense is that they're different, and that it keeps, what is coming at us keeps changing, and so the idea of blocking it out is somewhat irrelevant. It's more about kind of taking charge of your own frequency and what you can do with it. That's kind of my conclusion.
Right. I mean, there's the idea that I can shield everything around me.
Yeah.
No, you can't. I mean, you're talking about multi-directional sources of entry into your body. So you can't do that.
Right.
Those same people have, like, they're carrying their phones on their body. I just had somebody send me today, this morning, confirmation of everything I've been saying about keep the phones off your body. The phone is only on my body when it's off. That's the only time that phone is on my body. Otherwise, it's on a grounding mat. I'm typing external to me. I'm not holding it, because what happens is the EMFs are going to be highest, closest to source. So you have these women that are putting it in their bras, guys that are putting it in their back pockets. And what's happening is all the antennas on the phone are on. That means it's receiving signals from every possible direction, whether you're using something or not. And what does that EMF activation do for you? It activates any heavy metals that are in your body as well. It's a double whammy for you. So what we do is we say, look, we got to get into better habits. You have to learn the antennas of your phone. We did a whole conference on this in May, where I did a whole presentation showing people how to turn off the antennas they're not using and turn them on when you need them, turn them off when you don't, right? How to get into a better relationship with your phone so your phone stays off your body. And then how to turn the damn thing off. You know, if I'm walking, and I mean this, Jodi, I'm about to get on the road. I'm gonna go from the front door to my vehicle, and my phone is going to be on my body. It's going to be turned off for that little walk. And then when I get in the vehicle, I'll turn it back on. The only antennas I'll use are the ones I need. I know which ones I need. And now what happens is I have minimal EMF exposure at all times. And I have a protective distance between me and the source of the EMF, which is the phone. EMF is going to be, the phone's going to be a two-way street, receiver and emitter. And so when you look at all of this, the important thing is to remain grounded as long every day as you can. So how do you achieve this? One, a grounding sleep system. Now, when you're sleeping, you're grounded. You don't have to do any work. And people report the best sleep and waking up refreshed, and brain fog is gone. I just had one of my students last week say, as soon as he started doing the grounding and the home brewed holy water that we teach, sciatica, 25 years gone, like within weeks. Right. And, you know, it's like, yeah, this is what's happening, folks. All we have to understand is how they are deploying their bioweapons and what we need to do, because there's always a solution. God is that great. There's always a solution. Right. In this case, the solution is, you know, make sure you're grounded while you're sleeping. Well, that's 8 hours right there. So now you're doing great. Right. Then you get and say, well, I have to work at my computer. They got us, right? We're all addicted to these damn things, right? Okay, no problem. Guess what I have under my computer? A $30 grounding mat that I test every week to make sure it works. We're very curious to see how long these things last, but it's tested out great every single week for now 9 months. You know, this is fantastic. So it's like, okay, $30 for 9 months of I don't have to deal with EMFs. You betcha I'm going to take that every single day. So now while I'm working, that's another 8 to 12 hours that I'm grounding. And then I go out every morning and I make sure and take my shoes off and do my earthing in my wet grass. I make sure that I'm getting some sunlight hitting my body because, oh my God, you mean Dr. H, aren't you worried about cancer? Yeah, I am. That's why I get the heavy metals out. That's why I don't listen to anything from Bill Gates or the World Health Organization. That's why I don't trust my government, because I am worried about their bioweapons creating a disease in my body that I didn't agree to, right? But I'm not going to be so afraid of the sun, something God made. I'm not going to be afraid of sleep or, or an egg. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be afraid of the things that are nicotine, the things they want me to be afraid of. If they want you to be afraid of something, folks, that's a good sign that you need to do some research and maybe incorporate it into your life. Okay. Because it's probably
This is great. What I'm hearing is heavy metal detox, healing water, grounding at night while sleeping, grounding during the day. I have one rabbit hole question.
Yeah.
This new Real ID that they're pushing. I went to get it and then they were like, okay, do you consent to this frequency? I'm like, of course not. And they're like, well, if you don't consent, you can't have it. And I'm like, I guess
Right.
I'm not doing it. What is that? Do you have any thoughts?
On the Homeland ID, that thing.
What is,
Yeah,
well,
there's
why
yeah,
are they,
yeah. Yeah,
what?
there has to be there has to be when all these things, like you got to imagine like your credit cards and stuff like that now, right? You can touch them to things, right? The
Correct.
only reason that works is because there's a small emission device in there. Now we're talking nanoscale emissions and things like that. And we're talking, well, in some instances they'll get hit with a frequency, and then what comes back is what signals to the receiver on the other end that, hey, there's this person is here, or this item, this object is there, right? Well, no, I don't consent to being hit with all these alternating current frequencies. I don't consent to the becoming a member of the Internet of Things. I don't consent to the wide body access network. I don't consent to these things. So what we have to do is get informed and just say no. Like, no, I consent. I consent to using, and I can't stand this, but I consent to using, promissory notes that we call dollars. Do you realize that everything we spend, it's on a promise, right? It's ridiculous, but
It's
okay.
like monopoly money. I've thought of that
Right.
too.
Right. But I know that isn't going to hurt me. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I consent to that as a stupid way of exchanging, our imaginary numbers that we exist within, right? But this stuff is ridiculous where they're like, hey, it's for your own good. Hey, it's going to make your life more convenient. That's how they always get us. Convenience and for your own good.
Or vanity. I mean, this Ozempic injection, I'm like, what is that really? Like,
Well,
I wonder about these things.
Ozempic is safe and effective. Didn't you hear? It's completely safe and effective if you consider safe being gastroparesis, meaning your stomach doesn't move, and if you consider effective being the formation of cancer. And if you go to Ozempic and you go and look up the monograph on Ozempic, if you go to drugs.com or rxlist.com and just read it, go to the non-clinical pharmacology. Just go to that section and read what they tell you about thyroid cancer and Ozempic, because it's all right there for the reading. If you just understand, they have to tell you the truth. They are required to tell you the truth. You owe it to yourself and everyone you love to read that truth and then act appropriately from there.
Well, this has been very eye-opening. I'm guessing that all of the products on your site you've tested and you endorse.
Yep. Every single thing that we do not endorse a company. I don't care about the money. I care about the people. And I care about that people have a place to go that they're like, I trust that this has been thoroughly vetted. And so if it makes our companies we trust page at the Energetic Health Institute, I assure you we have vetted it thoroughly. And if that changes at any time in the future, because we don't stop testing, then we will remove companies from our companies we trust. That's just how it works.
As you should. Is there a small discount? Do you have a coupon code that people can use?
Not on all of our affiliates. Some companies don't have those programs, but that doesn't mean we don't want to share them with our audience. But by and large, if you hover over a company, go to energetichealthinstitute.org, companies we trust. If you hover over a logo for a company, you'll see in many cases that there is a discount as well.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to share?
Oh, what I'd really like to share with everybody. I'm going to speak at I think a Unity conference or a cancer conference. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going to go talk. But, what I'm trying to get across right now to everyone is this. There is nothing more profane than the word hate in our lexicon, and that it's something for all of us to become acutely aware of and start removing from our vernacular, because it's more toxic than there's only a handful of words that are more toxic to the cell structure in the body than the word hate. And we use it all the time unconsciously, and it's time for it to stop. And that there's another thing for people to stop doing immediately. And that is, please stop possessing disease. Please stop referring to any diagnosis you've been given as mine or yours or anything. Possess the love of God. Don't possess the devil's brew. And that's, I think, where I'll leave it.
This was wonderful. I'm so grateful. I'm going to send you a bunch of our oils for you to test, because I use the ground as well. But thank you so much for your time and your research and these accessible, affordable products. I really appreciate it.